When hope is gone, undo this lock and send me forth on a moonlit walk. Release restraint level 0. Hey kids, wanna see a dead body?
Hey guys, this is the Void of the Ravenclaw. Welcome back to another fanfiction story. If you like this type of content, smash the like button and subscribe for future updates that I do post on my community tab frequently. Now let's continue where we last left off in our story. Deku is still sleeping peacefully in his bed. He might be fully recovered because of the accelerated healing, but he lost a lot of blood, so his body's been replacing all the blood he's lost, making him not at 100% at this current time. It will take a couple days for Deku to be back to his full strength. Even though Deku, for the majority of the past 2 days, Noro Freeze would come frequently to check on him and making sure he's nice and comfortable. In a room that feels like a heavy-duty freezer that you would find at a restaurant or meat locker. Victor walked into the room and saw his wife reading a book, sitting on a chair next to the bed where Deku is sleeping currently. He still hasn't woken up from his fight with Deathstroke. I knew I would find you here. You've been quite motherly towards the kid. Can't help it, Victor. It's a woman instinct to take care of a hurt child. You know he's at least 14 or 13 at most. That's still a kid, husband. Child. How's it looking outside? Batman and his allies, alongside with Huntress and Power Girl, are slowly rooting out the hidden members of the Court of Owls. I have no doubt things will be returning back to normal sooner or later. Batman has a insanely strong drive, but enough about Batman. I know you're there, whoever you are. You don't pick a few tricks up on the way fighting Batman as long as I have. Fox walk out of the shadows that's in the room. Impressive. I am Fox. You may refer me as Mr. Freeze. What can I do for you, young lady? Deku, of course. How do you know Deku? I won't allow you to hurt him. As Nora stands in front of the bed, Fox couldn't help but tilt her head to the side from the woman's protectiveness over Deku. We're from the same dojo. He's my responsibility as the elder sister. We're not related. We're not blood related because... We're not blood related siblings. We serve the same dojo so far. He is the newest addition to our dojo, so he is the little brother to all of the other disciples that's under my master's tutelage. We all look after each other. Deku is a bit cold and distant from his sisters. It's just how he is. He seems to be doing okay. Nora still doesn't 100% trust this girl, but she answered her question regardless. His wounds healed instantly when he entered a room with cold temperatures into it. He had a deep stab on his right side. He lost a lot of blood, so I don't know when he is going to wake up. Most likely in the next couple days. But yet again, I'm no doctor. I had a feeling this was going to happen. He's always been reckless, but I'm not surprised he was injured when I fought the same opponent. It ended up being a draw. When it comes to the art of the sword, I've always been a tad bit better than my brother here. I was trained from an early age. I guess it can't be helped. Inform my brother, when he finally wakes up from his beauty sleep, he has to stay behind for a little bit to make sure any of the remnants of the Court of Owls try to rebuild their pathetic organization once again. This organization has made an enemy of my mistress, and that's why we're here in the first place. I'll leave my brother's health in your capable hands. I can sense no ill will towards Deku. And I have no doubt you have some sort of history with my brother here. That we do, Fox. What interactions we had with Deku was always civil. Very well. But before I go, just a little reminder. If you try to hurt my little brother in any way, there will be nowhere you could hide and run. There's nowhere you're gonna hide. And you won't be able to run far enough to hide from me. Freeze. Then I would run you down and unleash my full wrath upon you. With that said, Fox disappeared into the shadows of the room. Nora couldn't help but snicker at her husband's face from the threat he just got from the strange girl with the fox mask. Oddly enough, that was her name. Well, Nora thought the fox mask was a big giveaway from the charming young lady. The charming young lady. Indeed, I've never been threatened by a child before. 4 days has passed. Deku managed to regain consciousness on the third day. The moment he awoke and tried to get up, Nora ordered him back into the bed and forbid him from leaving until she was satisfied he's recovered 100%. Deku was smart enough not to argue with the woman, so he did what he was told and laid in bed. Nora did mention that Fox said to tell his orders from his sister. Deku has no problem with the orders. He completely agreed with Fox in this, to stay in Gotham to see if any remnants of the Court of Owls managed to survive. All truth, Fox was only following his orders because of his experience prior living in Gotham. So Deku had a home field advantage in that aspect of the mission. It was only natural he would take charge. It's the most logical choice to make. Deku eventually went on his own way, and thanked Mr. Freeze and his wife Nora for watching over him, even though he would occasionally catch Nora Freeze give him suspicious glances occasionally. Deku did not give a second thought on the matter. His only pressing issue is to deal with the members of the Court of Owls that manage to survive, if any. He still has a job to do. And he also has to give 2 thanks to the 2 heroes that managed to save his life. So that's why you find our antagonist on top of a roof in Gotham City, just staring at the stars. It's the first peaceful night in Gotham. Things have been slowly going back to normal. Most people are actually walking on the streets. Oddly enough, the street gang presence across Gotham has decreased. They're either in hiding or outright dead, either by a random villain, Court of Owl assassins. Deku could hear the sounds of someone battling as a car came flying into his direction. Deku jumped out of the way, jumping off the building and slamming his right hand that formed a ice claw into the side of the building. As the claw scraped the side of the pavement, making sparks, as he gently landed on the ground when he finally descended to the street level. As there was a large explosion on top of the roof where he was prior. As Deku could see, the 2 heroes are currently fighting 2 unknown villains. Briefly recognized the 2 heroes when he was about to lose conscious when he was fighting with Deathstroke. Deku noticed the 2 female heroes are fighting Grundy, of all people. Deku has always made sure his interactions with Grundy is very limited. He finds Grundy temperamental, easy to manipulate. Deku has some sympathy for the guy, but he's too chaotic. The slightest thing can set him off in a pure rage, going into his berserker state. Grundy is powerful, but he's too loud. He attracts too much attention. That's one of the main reasons why Deku doesn't like to interact with the guy. Despite the wardrobe change, he recognized those 2 are the same heroes that brought him along when they came to Prime Earth, either on purpose or by accident. Deku's still not sure how they even managed to get to another Earth and to begin with. There's a lot of unknown factors being played, so he's held his judgment for now. But that doesn't mean he wants to return. There's nothing left on his original Earth for him. For him, this Earth is his new home, and he has no intention of leaving it. Well, I suppose I should help them. They're the reason why I'm even on this Earth to begin with. I guess they deserve a thank you. And this is the perfect opportunity to test out the waters. Despite how chaotic Grundy is, there's always been a small part in me want to know if we ever fought. Who would come up victorious? By now, Deku's composed expression on his face was replaced with a savage grin. While Power Girl was flying around Grundy, trying to find a opening, Grundy was able to backhand a incoming Power Girl, but he was forced to protect his face from the Huntress shooting arrows that are flying towards his face, basically. And in response of being attacked by arrows being shot at him, Grundy charge forward, ready to mow down the annoying woman with the crossbow in both of her hands, only for Huntress to roll out of the way and jump backwards, then fire off several arrows that has explosion tips, making Grundy step backward from the pure force of the explosion tip arrows being fired upon him, while using his forearms to cover his face. By this time, Power Girl finally recovered from being backhand into several buildings as she flew in front of Grundy as she is hovering above the ground. Nice hit. Now it's my turn. Considering what you are, Grundy, there's no reason for me to hold back. As Power Girl got a vicious grin on her face. Without warning, Power Girl struck Grundy across the face by a right hook. Then Power Girl unleashed several fists. The moment her first attempt made contact. Power Girl finished her combination strike with a powerful right hook that made a shockwave when it made contact with Grundy's skin on the side of his cheek, making Grundy fly backwards, flying into several buildings. Like the other Kryptonians that are on this planet currently, Power Girl doesn't really hold back her strength, unlike this Earth's counterpart, or Superman. She's far more aggressive than her other counterpart. I'm referring as Supergirl. Power Girl has always thought her cousin on Earth were too lenient towards the villains that he fought. He doesn't believe outright killing villains, but he was too soft on his methods. Deku saw a very fast incoming Grundy that's flying directly towards him. The moment Grundy got into striking range, Deku threw out a right hook into Grundy's back, making the undead gangster go back flying right back towards Power Girl, as Deku made a small shockwave from the force of his strike. Kara was a bit surprised that all the times Deku could show up is during her fight with Grundy, but she wasn't disappointed. When Grundy got close enough, Power Girl grabbed Grundy by the face and slammed him into the street, making a small crater underneath them, as the street would form spider cracks from the force that Grundy impacted to the ground. You seem to be fully recovered. You do have my thanks for that. I wasn't expecting to come across someone like Deathstroke so soon. Pretty gutsy of you to go after Deathstroke. Grundy was struggling as Kara, Power Girl, slammed her heel onto Grundy, forcing Grundy back into the ground. While she's talking to Deku. That wasn't my intention, apparently. He was under contract to capture me and deliver me to the Court of Owls for some unpleasant reason. Grundy by now is growling as he finally got up from Power Girl's heel. Seeing this, both get some distance from Grundy. Power Girl flew off while Deku approached Grundy very carefully. We'll catch up later. This isn't the best time for this. Truth is right. We'll talk more once we take down Grundy. It won't be easy, but with the three of us, we should be able to manage. Huntress, you give us fire support. Keep your distance while me and Deku engage in close quarter combat with the walking zombie. Got it. He's coming. Deku had to dodge a humongous fist. Again, I messed that up, but anyways, let's continue forward. Deku had to dodge Grundy's humongous fist, getting behind Power Girl while she simply caught his fist with the palm of her right hand, while Deku launched himself over Power Girl back, slamming his fist on the top of Grundy's head, while Power Girl go with Grundy's fist and grab firm onto his wrist, and begin to strike Grundy repeatedly with her left fist, each blow making shockwave after shockwave. Power Girl and Deku, sensing danger, backed off, get some distance while several arrows begin to fly towards Grundy. The moment the arrow tips made contact with his skin, there was several small explosions from the explosion tip arrows making contact with their target. While Grundy's view was being blocked by the smoke of the explosion, Power Girl unleashed her heat vision on full force, engulfing the entire street. When the heat vision ended, you can see Grundy still standing, but his clothes are ripped and shredded. He's clearly received some damage, but not enough to take him down. Not even close. Grundy is a very dangerous opponent, considering he's already dead. He'll just revive himself if you manage to kill him. Killing him is one thing, but keeping him dead is another. Way to successfully kill Grundy is to have a sorcerer on your side. Deku stand in the middle of the road when he saw Grundy recovered and began his ran towards them with both his hands extended towards Grundy, with his palms facing outwards towards Grundy. Suddenly, a glowing blue and white energy shot out of both of his hands, freezing Grundy and everything behind him for a 3-mile radius. Luckily for most of the neighborhood, were abandoned from the city being sealed off, so people hasn't migrated back to their homes yet in this part of the city. As you see Grundy in a case of huge ice, trapping him inside the small iceberg. This will not stop him for long. How you want to handle this? We can't simply take him down like any other normal criminal or villain out there. If I remember right, Grundy is basically immortal. We're going to have to take him out. He won't stay dead for long, but this will definitely stop his rampage. I don't like it, but I agree. To land the finishing blow if you want. I know you heroes don't like to cross that line. No, I'll do it. If Batman could do it, then so can I. Normally, I would never do this. But Grundy is an undead. Even Batman knows that. And I don't see him getting too upset over this. Very well. The moment he breaks out of the ice, I want you to freeze him from the neck down Can you do that? Can you make your ice thick enough for even Grundy to struggle to break out? Don't underestimate me. That little show I showed you for my last attack was only at 300% of my actual power. In all seriousness, when it comes to my ice abilities, I could freeze his entire city if I chose to. But that would bring the attention of the bat down on me, and that's one thing I do not want to occur. I like to keep my activities mostly in the shadows. But this is a sort of situation where I don't need to be so delicate in my actions, as you see. Well, as you can see, cracks from the block of ice that has Grundy currently trapped. From him struggling to get free, little by little bit, the iceberg begins to crack until Grundy broke out with his pure physical strength, revealing a very pissed off Grundy, if that was even possible. I know he doesn't really have great control over his emotions, because Grundy is in his berserker state. Deku created two humongous hands made of ice and grab onto Grundy, crunching him into a firm hand grasp by both of the frozen humongous hands that popped out of the ground, that were created from ice, right in front of Grundy. Suggest you hurry. I won't be able to keep him long. I can't move my hands from this spot. If I do so, my technique will fade away. Got it. Supergirl flew forward towards Grundy and grabbed Grundy by the face. Both of her hands, as Power Girl's eyes begin to glow bright red, well, crimson red, as she shoots her heat vision point blank range, engulfing Grundy's entire face. When the beam finally faded away, as you could see the body of Grundy drop to the floor as the ice hands dissipate into ice particles, as you can see Grundy falling dead to the ground, headless, as his head was vaporized by the heat vision. As you can see Power Girl panting from her unleashing her heat vision at full power. Even 5 seconds after the battle concluded, the body of Grundy begins to sink into the ground as Bone Hand shot out and grab firm onto Grundy's body and drag him underneath the ground. He was quite intrigued by the events he sees currently. Is that normal? Unfortunately, it is. There's not much difference between this Grundy than Grundy back on our Earth. Short pause. I don't know why it's so difficult to talk right now. I do apologize. Let's continue forward. That's very unsettling. It'll be some time before Gotham PD notice our actions on this part of the city. They're still trying to get everything back to normal. That gives us plenty of time to have our little chat. I'm surprised you're still here, kid. I figured you'd be long gone by now. I'm staying in Gotham for a little bit to make sure none of the Court of Owls try to restore their little organization. So I'm stuck in Gotham for a while. A tad bit. Maybe a couple weeks at most. Orders from who? All I could tell you is I'm a disciple of a shrine. I am under the tutelage of Lady Yuri. I mostly learned hand-to-hand combat mastery and the mastery of the art of swordplay. Throwing knives, or kunai, and learning better to utilize my ice more efficiently. The other disciples at the shrine uses magic to create ice. From form of from a form of magic, I believe they call it ice magic. I plan to take a couple of courses to see if I am able to even utilize magic in the first place. Huntress did not show it, but she was surprised that he wants to learn magic. He's already dangerous enough without even putting magic into the equation. A Deku with mastery over magic would even make him more dangerous. She'll have to keep an eye on him from time to time. What are you gonna do after this, Deku? I take it you don't plan to stay in Gotham City permanently. No, I plan to leave eventually, when my business here is concluded. I will be returning back to Alaska to continue my training. My fight with Deathstroke proved that. Maybe when I'm done training, we can fight together once again. The idea of teaming up with you two, once again, is not so revolting. I'm glad you haven't changed. You're still a smartass. You still have that smart mouth of yours. Can't help it. It's my best quality. You're still a little shit, but try to take care of yourself. Don't worry, I plan to. Huntress, is it? New Earth, new identity is required. I suppose that does make sense. I have no doubt we'll see each other once again. Huntress. Deku simply walked away and waved Power Girl goodbye, and walked into one of the alleyways, disappearing from their sight, leaving the two women to their own devices. The remaining time in Gotham was quite peaceful for Deku. He met with Batman on occasionally. Before heading back to Alaska, back to the shrine, Deku decided to take a short detour and travel to Metropolis, considering he's basically almost there. Home turf of the Kryptonian known as Superman. He's heard stories about Superman growing up, but he never actually met the man. He was dead long before he was even born. Deku eventually decided to go by train, as he bought a train ticket to Metropolis from Gotham. Considering he's underage and doesn't own a car, nor does he know how to drive one of those, he was always driven when he was under the employ of Kagopah, aka the Penguin. Several hours later, Deku finally arrived in Metropolis and began to exit the train and left the train station to head deeper into the streets of Metropolis. Finally, seeing a nice diner, he decided to take a seat in the outside area of the diner. After all, it's quite nice weather in Metropolis currently. The moment Deku sat down on one of the tables in the balcony area of the diner, a waitress came up, handed him a menu. Shortly after, she returned with some drinks, and Deku proceeded to order some food. Taking long for the food to arrive, his meal was mostly peaceful. As you can see, Deku is just sitting on the table, enjoying his tea. Like what always happens when he gets a brief moment of peace, his peacefulness was ruined by the sounds of screaming civilians running down the street, trying to get away from the area. as something red and blue skid across the street, landing against a car, smashing the trunk. Deku calmly continued to drink his tea, glancing at the smoke as the smoke dissipated, revealing Superman. The Kryptonian in question launched himself out of the car and stand on his 2 feet. It didn't take long to Deku to notice the Kryptonian's opponent. What was surprising, Deku wasn't expecting 2 villains are currently fighting against Superman. The first one almost looked robotic, looking like a robot you would see from a movie. With green glowing into the chest of the robotic skeleton. And the second villain was wearing a purple suit that covered his entire body, even covering his face. The skeleton, looking like robot, revealed to be Metallo, simply nod at his temporary ally, known as Parasite, that's able to temporarily siphon power from people. He makes any physical contact on someone. But of course, he can't copy too many powers all at once. There's a limit how much he could hold. Metallo and Parasite both charge forward, begin to engage Superman into hand-to-hand combat. Clark uses superior speed to dodge the initial attack from Metallo, but wasn't fast enough to dodge a right hook across his face from Parasite. Parasite has already siphoned some of his powers already, so he's currently incredible strong from his super strength that he siphoned from. Metallo used the opportunity to land a solid strike across Superman's face. Parasite joined in and threw out his own fist, as Metallo and Parasite continuously to strike Superman across the face and body, making the kryptonite skid backwards from their last hit when they stopped their assault, only for Metallo to shoot out some sort of green energy from his chest plate, hitting Superman as Clark goes flying into several cars, finally stopping, hitting a local delivery truck. Clark struggled to his feet and lodged himself from the truck from the kryptonite energy blast that he received from Metallo. Clark could feel his powers weakening from the use of kryptonite being so close to his radius. Metallo and Parasite began to stalk their prey on both sides, Metallo on his right and Parasite on Superman's left, ready to pounce on their victim. Deku calmly continues to drink his tea, while everyone in the current area finally evacuated to a safe distance, except for Deku, who is calmly still drinking his tea, on the side of the road in a patio of a local diner, just observing the fight, not getting involved. Deku has no reason to interfere with any villain in Metropolis. If those two are the norm when it comes to the villain population of Metropolis, it's best not to rush into things. If things can be avoided. Regardless, I'm getting some good intel on Metallo and Parasite. Deku can't really tell much about the walking skeleton, but the one thing he does know is the one in the purple suit, is dangerous. Something about him just unnerves Deku. Deku has no idea about his ability to siphon powers. He still hasn't demonstrated that aspect of his abilities. Before Superman could even put up any defenses, Metallo came from behind and kicked Superman towards Parasite, only for Parasite to grab Superman by the face and pin him to the ground while siphoning more of his powers. It's the stuff. More. Give me more of your incredible power, Superman. Parasite, stop playing with your food. We were given a task. Quiet, Skeleton. I'm enjoying myself. Deku could see Superman slowly fading away, while Metallo and Parasite bicker between each other, while Parasite is still siphoning Superman's powers. As the Eyes user, he gently put his teacup onto the table and placed some money as he calmly walked towards the two of them. These fools were able to heal Superman, that would clearly weaken Earth's defenses when Darkseid finally reveals themselves to Earth. We can't have that, as much as I hate to admit it. Superman's continuous to existence is vital for this Earth's survival. His presence did not go unnoticed, as you see Lois Lane with her cameraman, Jimmy Olsen, in footage of the fight between Clark and the two villains. She's worried, but she still has a job to do, regardless of herself and Clark's relationship. You flash from Lois' sight, then reappeared right behind Metallo, as he struck Metallo in the back of the head with his fist, as Metallo gets shot backwards into several buildings. Deku then proceeds to spin and do a spin kick, hitting Parasite off of Superman. Deku watched the one that goes by Parasite skid across the street, giving Superman the necessary time to recover from his powers to be siphoned in such a manner. Thanks, kid, for the assist. It looked pretty bad there for a second. No problem, Boy Scout. I wasn't going to interfere at first, but if you were killed, it would be problematic. Be a Boy Scout, but you're a very useful Boy Scout. We could talk all you want after we deal with this current issue we have. I have no problem with that, son. You know who I am, but I don't know who you are. My name's Deku, and that's all you're going to get from me. Can you tell me about those two? While we have the time. The robot-looking one is Metallo. He has kryptonite embedded in the middle of his chest that he could shoot out off like energy beams. Even he's able to shoot the same beams out of his eyes and hands. It's no secret that I'm weak against kryptonite. And the other one there is Parasite. He has the ability to copy someone's powers by siphon off of someone with physical contact. There's a limit to how many power sets he can hold all at once. If he wants a new power, if his power slot is full, his new power, basically will replace one of his old ones. Judging by the cold air you're breathing out, you must have some power over ice. Or correct, Boy Scout. I'll make sure to keep my guard up with Parasite. Thank you for the vital information. I'm guessing Parasite has already siphoned some of your powers already. Prior to your conflict with him, that he has. They attacked me all out of nowhere. But I know one thing, they're only being played pawns on a board, and there's only one person I know would do something so heinous. But I'll deal with that later. I don't have proof for right now. Normally, I would not agree for someone so young to get involved into this sort of thing, but I have a feeling you're going to interfere regardless of what I say here today. You do have a brain, Boy Scout. You are correct. Trust me. I can hold my own. Let's get our head in the game. They're coming. Metallo was able to get to Superman before Deku could act. Metallo got into striking range again. He immediately threw out a right hook to Superman, only for the Kryptonian to block his initial attack. Then grab onto Metallo's wrist and throwing him across the street as he goes skidding across the hard pavement. Superman flew forward, began to strike Metallo in midair. After the initial right hook made Metallo airborne, as you can see Superman flying around, hitting Metallo over and over again in the middle of there across his metal face, leaving Deku to handle Parasite. Parasite, on the other hand, is approaching Deku cautiously. You know, kid, you probably bit off more than you can chew. Welcome to the big leagues, boy. As Parasite has a disturbing grin on his face. I don't know what sort of powers you have, but I'm sure we'll find out sooner or later. Shut up and fight, you purple abomination. Deku disappeared for a brief moment, then reappeared as several different after images of himself surround Parasite. Deku is only testing the waters. He doesn't know what type of powers he managed to siphon off of someone that he has already. Deku concluded most likely he got a good portion of the Boy Scout's super strength, speed, and durability, and most likely his heat vision as well. But outside of that, he doesn't know what else abilities he has managed to siphon off of any person he's fought against prior to his fight against Superman. Deku was surprised these two villains were even working together. They don't seem to get along very well. From his point of view, when he was observing the fight prior to his involvement, Deku fully knows that they're most likely hired muscle. There's only one person he can think of that has that sort of MO, and that's Lex Luthor himself. Deku's never met the man, but he was told stories about his battles against Superman, then eventually teaming up with Superman to battle Darkseid back on his Earth. Deku couldn't help but admire the pure drive to stick to your morals. Even though Lex's morals were twisted, there were morals nonetheless. Deku reappeared right behind Parasite and slammed his right foot threw out a right foot into a medium kick, hitting the lower back of Parasite, making him stumble forward a few steps from the pure force of the kick. then disappeared, making more after images of himself, making the purple villain very agitated and a bit annoyed. Starting to get really annoyed. Stand still, little brat. In response, you could only see Deku disappear, then reappear, throw out a punch or a kick, then immediately disappeared afterwards, making more after images of himself. Deku can keep this up for a good while. He's not using too much stamina on his end of things. He's no Flash, but he's fast enough to create after images of himself for this type of situation. Deku was caught off guard by Parasite's speed that showed up out of nowhere, having to dodge a strike by jumping backwards, skidding across the ground, while not breaking eye contact with his opponent. Now that's what we're talking about. You're fast, I'll give you that. Now that I caught up with you in speed, let's find out what kind of abilities you have. I can't wait to see what I get. And it's not even my birthday. Parasite launched himself forward with his hands outstretched, ready to grab Deku when he gets into range. The other side of the battlefield, as you see Superman dodging beams of kryptonite beams that are shooting out of Metallo's chest. What's the matter, alien? Feeling weak? I'm going to be the one to kill you, Superman. You have ruined my plans for far too long. If I kill you, then I'll kill my partner, Parasite. Then after that, I'll deal with Lex. I'm no one's whooping boy. Or guard dog. It's about time the Legion of Doom has a new leader. Doesn't matter to you, Superman, because you won't be around. As Metallo shot out another beam from his chest, then immediately bolted forward and managed to strike Superman across the face, making him go flying backwards, skidding across the street, while Metallo charged forward. Clark noticed Metallo is approaching fast. Clark shot out his heat vision only to see Metallo to get hit by the red beam of energy, only for him to still kept charging forward, then charging through it by using his forearm to block the blunt of the heat vision while running. When he lowered his arm from his chest, that's currently glowing bright green, as Clark's eyes widen a slight bit as Metallo was about to shoot off the beam of energy in his chest in close distance, point blank range. Clark stares upon Metallo's face, only to see a grin on his robotic face. When Clark finally realized that he was charging the beam all along before he even began moving. Without even saying a single word, Metallo unleashes full power of his kryptonite shot, or kryptonite beam, shooting out of his chest, point blank range, as you can see a small green explosion that damaged the nearby buildings. When the smoke cleared, you can see Superman on the ground, which his costume is teared and ripped. Metallo approached Superman and kicked him over onto his back, so Superman could see his face when he dies. Game over, Superman. I win, you lose. It was fun while it lasted, but all good things must come to an end. Goodbye. Metallo began to charge up another kryptonite beam in his chest as he extended his hand outwards towards Superman, charging more energy through his palm of his hands. As his eyes began to glow green, ready to shoot out the kryptonite energy out of his chest, hands, and eyes, ready to unleash a devastating wave of kryptonite energy, enough to even kill Superman. He won't be able to use the same attack again for quite some time. Even though he has a robotic body, it does have its limits. And this sort of attack is very dangerous for him. The more shots he shoots out, the more energy will be drained from his body, making him very vulnerable for quite some time. Before Metallo could unleash his attack, something bolted towards him with incredible speed as he was sent flying into the street. He flew through several buildings. Supergirl finally arrived on the battlefield. Cousin, I came as soon as I saw the broadcast. I don't know why suddenly Metallo and Parasite joined forces, but nothing good will come of this union. While flying down, she saw Parasite fighting some young kid wearing a white coat. But she was more worried about Clark and his current condition. The situation wasn't looking good for me until Deku got involved. Deku say, do you think we could trust him? I'm not sure. I know for a fact we're on the same side right now currently. And I'm no fool, that might not be always the case. It's the game plan, cuz. You know what to do. Distract, I'll pin him down. You could do the rest. You know as well as I do. To stop Metallo, we need to rip out his core. That's in the kryptonite that's in his body. I won't have the necessary strength to do it. So I'm already weakened. I've had my powers siphoned. I'm still recovering from Parasite's assaults. No problem, cuz. I got this. That's where we're gonna stop it. I hope you guys have a good night and day. Enjoy my time zone, and I'll catch you in the next video.